Alright, welcome back to SOS. I'm Stats Arm Badass. I'm going to add this to my SHTF series, the things I think about. Alright, in many podcasts that I've done, I have talked so randomly about different scenarios that leads to one ultimate scenario. You can, you can think of several different things of what could happen during a grid down scenario. Grid down can happen from a pandemic. Everybody's going on about pandemics and things like that, and people want to ask about that sort of thing. Sure, it will happen. People get sick and people cannot show up to work. It happens. Especially in the medical field, EMTs, doctors, nurses, all the other medical staff, they're not going to want to show up to work after a period of time, or they just get sick. It spreads like a wildfire. Different strains of the flu, for example. Flu's killing people. All these different strains, they can't keep up. There's a different strain in every state, just about. You get up to so many, and you can't control it, you can't contain it. People start getting sick, people start dying. What if the question keeps coming up about these sort of things. So if you had a massive pandemic, I'm talking something that was really hard to contain and really hard to control, and if it spread, you talk about planes, trains, and automobiles, right? It travels all over the place. People catch it, people spread it, people get sick, some people die, some people don't, but as people start to fade out, you're talking in a real pandemic, within the first couple of weeks, you're gonna have thousands dead in the first couple of weeks of a real pandemic. Something really crazy. It's kind of like what I said with a CME, corneal mass injection, and from the sun, and EMPs, and electromagnetic pulse caused from a ballistic missile, and if it blasts overhead and causes an electromagnetic pulse, it'll fry chips, motherboards, and all sorts of stuff. It basically overjuices the system in a flash, and that little flash is what causes everything to burn and fry up. Something caused from that would lead to pandemics as well. Lights are out, power's out, grid's not coming back on, people start getting sick, they start seeing things they would never seen before. They can't manufacture and mass produce things to combatant it, and it would lead to that sort of thing. If you did have a pandemic, let's say something really severe, you can sit and name off every type of thing there is that would cause a pandemic. All right, if you had one, and you're talking millions and then billions around the world would face death, what would come after that? People, look at individual jobs. All right, I'll get into some smaller ones, but look at the bigger ones. People who, a nuclear engineer type guy, somebody that works at like a power plant. You're not going to be able to recover from that. That guy is out of commission, and then the next guy goes, and the next guy goes. Bob got sick, spread it so-and-so, and, next thing you know, you've got no one showing up to the power plants. You've got no one showing up in the hospitals anymore, and it would happen all over the place. It would be a chain reaction. You would slowly, you would slowly see a disintegration in civilization. It would gradually start to happen. And when society starts to break down, people won't know what to do. You know, most people board themselves up in their home. They have no idea what to do outside. And they're going to stay there and listen to the news, listen to the radio. You know, and people start showing up to work, then, you know, eventually the TV stops working. And they wonder why none of the channels are there. They start flipping through the channels. This is just things to put in perspective. If people start getting sick and people can't show up to work for whatever reason, then everything starts to gradually shut down. Phone systems will get overwhelmed and they will shut down. Phone systems will not work. You know, after a while, you know, too many people trying to hop on the phones, or staff not showing up to work anymore. The internet, for example, the internet's run by people. It's supposed to be EMP proof or whatever. It's supposed to be able to survive a nuclear blast or something like that. That's the rumors, right? But it's ran by a very small army of people. And that very small army of people get sick, they can't show up to work, then the internet goes down. So that would kill that. Water treatment facilities would shut down. Sanitation would shut down. All that stuff would close up. You'd have no running water. You would have no toilet. Your toilet would not work anymore. The garbage man, like I said, I get the smaller stuff. The garbage man stops picking up your trash. Trash just builds up out front. You're burying your poop in your backyard. Those are all things I've said. All this stuff will start to happen, and people are what people are still moving around that did not get sick are going to be forming gangs and taking what they want. They're going to be going to stores, clearing off shelves. Walmarts, Targets, all those things will be picked clean. You know, all your food, your grocery stores and all that stuff will definitely get hit. They'll take things that make no sense, even dog food, all that stuff will be gone. But all of it will shut off. Every single working thing you could think of. You know, the story I said in a podcast where Bob comes home and, you know, he turns on his coffee pot, he checks his messages on his phone and all that stuff. And then Bob gets up the next morning, goes to fix coffee, and coffee doesn't work, and faucet doesn't run, and that kind of scenario, right? You get to thinking about, you know, what comes after that. You know, not just picking the shelves clean, but picking people's homes clean. You know, people's homes are going to be overrun by strangers, you know, taking what they want and doing with you whatever they feel like doing. You know, law and order has broken down, and this all goes with big cities, major cities. And if this isn't enough motivation to try and get out of a larger city, I don't know what is. I mean, I've even talked about how when sanitation had shut down in certain areas where people were dumping buckets of their poop and everything else down out of their windows from major buildings, right? That just sounds disgusting. That doesn't sound very good. Things like that are going to cause more sickness, you know. Those that weren't sick before are going to get sick from that. You know, sanitation breaks down. Water will get people sick. People will get sick from water. People not treating it right. You know, people will get it from places they can get it and try and boil it and filter it and all these things, and You know, one slight wrong twist, and they can get sick. It's going to happen. People are going to be very vulnerable, very, very vulnerable. You know, antibiotics, you know, any place that has medications are going to be picked clean. Simple things like a cut, something as small as a small cut can cause an infection and cause the infection to spread throughout the entire body, and then you're dead. It's going to be a harsh world. And for those who try to leave are going to be faced with treachery on the roadways, you know, and people posing to be police, you know, whatever authority figure that they can pick, you know, they can pretend to be the National Guard or something, you know, they could be pretending to be anybody. They could set up roadblocks and hold you at gunpoint to take what stuff you do have, that bug out bag you made, or whatever it is, or your vehicle. You know, you could be trying to leave, you know, you've decided it's time to go, and you pack up what belongings you've got left because everyone else is getting looted and robbed and broken into, and you decide to jump in your vehicle and hit the road, and you've done checked every section of the road to get on the interstate, and it's blockage after blockage. There's no way to get around it, and you finally find a path you can actually go through, and it's a roadblock with armed gunmen, and they gun you down and take out your vehicle. They take out your vehicle, then you're on foot, and then you're walking. I had to throw that scenario out there last night because it just seemed like something that needed to be said. You know, all right, so you've got a vehicle, you're good to go. You've got stuff, you got gear, you can move, you're rolling, you know, you've got your family, whatever, and you're rolling out. Your vehicle is gone. Now you're all on foot, you know. You could be in the desert, you could be in a winter environment, whatever it is. It could be perfect weather, you know what I mean? Plenty of wild edibles, you know, it could be that environment. Or it could not, you know, it could be worse than that. You know, you could, I mean, you could be robbed, you know, you could see armed gunmen heading your way, bail, hide, and, you know, they pass along and strip your vehicle clean, and they don't even waste time to siphon the gas out of the gas tank. They just punch a hole in the tank and drain the gas from the bottom. You know, in SHTF, I mean, this is a Armageddon scenario, a post-apocalyptic world, you know, one of those really, really crazy worlds. No one's gonna waste time anymore with all those other things, you know, protecting the vehicle or something. No one's gonna care anymore, you know. Long after the apocalypse, people are going to be turning cars into dehydrators and stuff. You know what I mean? Cars not even going to be useful for anything anymore, right? Got to think about that stuff. I'm just saying. A lot of people are not saying that stuff. But going to another town, for example, what if they don't want you? You know, all these people are leaving the freeway. You know, I've said this one before. All the people are leaving the freeway. Nobody wants anything to do with those people leaving the freeway. They're going to turn you away. There's going to be no law and order anymore. You're going to have Billy Bob Joe Bob badge, you know, just a guy wearing a sheriff outfit, you know, claiming to be sheriff, and he's going to be handling all the law and order in that town however he sees fit. There's not going to be no judge, no jury, any of that. It's just going to be sheriff, that guy, you know, and no one's going to mess with the sheriff. You know, you're going to have an entire town that's dedicated to protecting it because they want to keep what they've got, you know. They could be crazies. They could be complete crazies. You know, they could have a weird belief system or something. You know, things start to happen. You know, the evil zoo. I've mentioned the evil zoo many times on the channel. Evil zoo. You know, crazy people, right? Just crazy. You couldn't go through the town, so you have to take a detour. You know, you got to go around it. They won't let you in. So now you've got to find an alternate route to get to your destination. How many days is it going to take? Nobody knows. You know, walking on foot depends on how many miles. How far can you go? Like I said the other night, it's like, how far can my 5-year-old walk? You know what I mean? Before I'm having to pick him up and carry him. That's if you're having to evacuate, right? That's if you're having to evacuate. Because if you're in a city, you're going to have to evacuate. You're not going to want to stay there for what's soon to come. Because, you know, there are some pretty crazy stories out there. You know, what happens to people after there's no food, no water, or anything else. You know, people living like cockroaches for a while. What happens in a city like that? The people who didn't leave or couldn't leave, you know. Crazy stuff. Wrong turn kind of stuff. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But anyways, if you are in one of those situations, you would want to practice eating bugs, eating things that you've never eaten before. You know, there are books on bugs you can eat. I'm just throwing it out there. Different plants you can eat, wild edible books you can eat, you can pick from to experiment with. I've done that quite a bit. I haven't done the bugs as much, but the wild edibles I have. I do that every year, and we go on trips. It's getting closer to my trip, to my next trip, so that should be fun. And we go out and experiment with all sorts of things. I might do bugs this time. I'm not sure. Don't know how I feel about that, but I might do it. You know, when you're close to dying, you know, you can go 3 days without water, and that's it. Once you start to get in some really bad states, once you get up to 3 days, it gets pretty awful. And I mean, I'd be looking for water everywhere. There's all sorts of weird places water can be kept. You know what I mean? You just have to look around for it. You know, if you're a total MacGyver kind of guy, you know, you could look at, you know, vehicles in different location. You know, look around for water inside, you know, strange places that somebody might keep water. So you'd have to be very creative in finding water, okay? In some cases, you know, you can't find it at all. And you can use, there are techniques. You can use plastic bags over limbs and things like that. There's different techniques for that. There's all sorts of other techniques you can do in the field to get water. You just have to experiment with them and try to see if they'll work. I don't know the exact names of all of them. I sit and name all of them off. But there are many different ways of getting water. And once you kind of understand the concept, it's pretty easy. The food aspect of that, you're going to have to get creative. You know, like I said, you're going to be eating whatever you can find. A little bit of protein will keep you going. Because if you go more than 3 days without food, your body starts to get into this really weird state where it doesn't even want to eat anymore. You know, you don't even feel like, you know, it's like if someone said, like, what's your favorite food? You wouldn't even be able to answer that question. You would have no idea. You wouldn't be thinking about it. You know what I mean? You just would not think about it. You wouldn't focus on food, all right? After so long. Because your body will start breaking down its fat and its muscle tissue. And then once that starts to take place, only so long after that, you're going to end up in a hospital. And we were talking about that. You know, you would end up in a hospital because you know, after pushing it so long without food, so many X amount of days after the fact, you know, once you get into that, your body starts to break all this stuff down, and then you reach a state of no return, and you would need doctors and medical staff to help you with that. But yeah, that's another thing. Being a minimalist, right? Being a minimalist, you know, there's going to be some wild predators out there in this strange, exotic new world. And, you know, being creative, you know, learning these different skills are going to be more important than carrying a heavy pack. It's just more practical, to be honest, because you're only going to be able to carry X amount of water and X amount of food in your bag. Most of your bag is going to be water and food if you're having to foot it to a destination, because that's what a bug out bag or a good bag is generally used for anyways, is to get to your destination. It isn't to worry about, you know, I'm going to live out of this bag. That's not what it's for. You know, it's just to make sure you've got some food and water to keep you alive, you know, or to carry any other item you thought would be useful. You know, maybe a knife, maybe a handgun, you know what I mean? At least there's something in there to protect yourself, and you have something to clean and dress an animal, or help get a fire started. That would be useful, right? And the reason why people go more for a ferro rod or something like that is you don't have to worry about fluids and things like that, or parts and components breaking off. You know, that's the reason why most people go with ferro rods. That's the reason why I choose a ferro rod over taking a big lighter. It's just a little bit better than worrying about broken parts. You know, if something happens to it. I still carry a Bic. I'm just saying, a Bic lighter or a Zippo lighter. Zippo lighter can be gutted and turned into a fire starter if need be. Just saying, you know, there's so much stuff that can go into this, but you know, there's just a lot to really consume, and you want to be ready for what could come, right? And this is me putting my thoughts down into a video, so I don't, you know, I don't miss something, right? I don't miss something, so you guys can give you guys some general ideas of what to think about. I'll wrap it up. I'm Stasser Bass. Have a beautiful, fabulous, fantastic day. Take it easy.